Last week, President Cyril Ramaphosa stood in front of 5,000 ANC councillors at FNB Stadium and declared without the courtesy of self-awareness that corruption must stop and the cooking of the books must end today, otherwise the ANC could die.
Sometimes even elected representatives get involved in acts of malfeasance or corruption, and at times in criminal activities working against the people. There are instances of a number of people in our local government structures who are involved in acts of criminality or stealing the resources of our people. And this, in many ways, is betraying the sacred duty that is entrusted to all of us.
Nearly 8 years as president, and Cyril Ramaphosa suddenly discovered corruption in local government. It's a bit like a burglar halfway through robbing a house going, oh, wait, this is immoral. The ANC, once vaunted by some as a liberation party, still clings to the majority of South Africa's municipalities. Everywhere it clings, there's rot.
This failure can be so severe in some places that we find that water and sewage runs through the streets of our townships and towns. It is quite clear that given the state of our municipalities, our immediate task must be to focus our attention on stabilizing municipalities.
The councillors have run towns and cities across this country into the ground because of incompetence, theft, and sheer indifference. Now, the Auditor General has been shouting into the void for over a decade, a few different Auditors General. Last week, Parliament heard that municipalities and state-owned enterprises now owe 1.83 billion rand in unpaid audit fees to the Auditor General. So even the Auditor General now has to play debt collector.
This is borne out by the Auditor General, who cautions that municipal finances are severely troubled, and even though funds are constrained, mayors, councils, and municipalities are displaying, she says, little fiscal discipline. Money paid by residents and funded from the national purse is often wasted through poor financial and procurement decisions and project failures.
Among the deadbeats, we've got Denel at 82 million rand. We've got the Post Office at 63 million rand. We've got South African Express, a ghost airline which owes 21 million rand, and even Mango Airlines owes 2 million rand, which is quite something because Mango Airlines doesn't exist. Yet when President Ramaphosa summoned his councillors for a roll call to launch the ANC's local election campaign, guess who was on stage with him? Paul Mashatile, Gwede Mantashe, Fikile Mbalula, Zweli Mkhize, and even Nomvula Mokonyane.
The ANC must ensure that our candidate selection methods for the forthcoming local government elections produce capable, qualified candidates of impeccable and moral standing.
I mean, that's tainted, accused, implicated. These are names that are synonymous with scandal and corruption at the highest levels. State capture report, you know. It wasn't meant to be a group reunion photo for state capture, though. He was trying to launch them as the cleanup crew. Now, he dares to call this a turning point, the president. But the numbers tell a very different story. Municipal debt to creditors has exploded to 131 billion rand. Treasury had to claw back 460 million from just 8 councils last year. And those councils still owed 90 million months later. Service delivery protests raged daily across South Africa. Water was being tankered into various Johannesburg suburbs as the president was speaking. In eThekwini, as I mentioned the other day, the president has used this as an example of a shining light because of assistance from the presidential task team. Remember, there's 40 billion rand in uncollected debt in Durban. 48% water losses, and daily power outages. This is the shining light? Must be the lighthouse at the end of civilization. And yet the president still utters words as if they will do the magic all on their own. Well, it's not working. The cooking of the books must end today, he said, as if he hasn't been president for the last 8 years, and deputy president before that. Potholes must be filled. Water leaks must be repaired, he said. Streetlights must be installed, as though these are grand visions, not just the basic entry-level duties of the local government. But let's not miss the most telling part of the president's speech, because he himself admitted that the best-run municipalities in the country are governed not by the ANC, but by the Democratic Alliance. The president's own words, not mine. The ANC once commanded 66% of the vote in South Africa. By 2024, we all know that it slumped to just over 40%. In Johannesburg, it could plunge below 20% in the next local elections if the most recent polls are to be believed. For those who are not ANC supporters, this could be a beautiful thing to witness. There's no schadenfreude quite like watching a corrupt patronage machine choke on its own contradictions. And that is happening. A party that was built on patronage is now promising to end patronage. A president who sat quietly for years is now pretending to be shocked by all the rot. The truth is simple. If ANC councillors had done their jobs, if the president had just acted instead of talking, if the corrupt had been expelled, there would be no need for stadium roll calls. There would be no need for the Auditor General to play debt collector. And there'd be no need for his sermon at FNB Stadium. This is not a turning point. It's the point of no return. And the nation is in some way grateful for that. This is Gareth Cliff for the Truth Report.